All right, good afternoon, everybody. The trader back on here, and we are being joined by swing trader, of course. Chris, how's your day going, buddy?
Pretty good, Gavin. Pretty good. Just keeping an eye on the markets, seeing what's happening across the board. What about you?
Pretty much the same thing. I mean, it's been so choppy as of
Mm-hmm.
late that it's kind of just trying to get involved and been looking for opportunities on the indices, but they kind of keep changing the tops and the highs and the lows on where to jump in. It feels like so hasn't been the cleanest trading environment on the index front, that's for sure. And
Yeah,
then
just
just
seesawing back and forth.
right, and then just seeing this meltdown in the chips as we see a lot of that leverage coming out post earnings.
Mm-hmm.
Strong fundamentals certainly has not been anything to stem the tide on the selling front. So I am keeping a close eye on the 75.30 area on the SPX. Chris is a breakdown below. Could see a flush down at 7,500 level. So certainly keep an eye out on that. It's going seem to be getting a little bit heavier going into the afternoon. So what's your thought on the SPY here, Chris? Before we get into our business.
Yeah, same thing as before. Same thing. Going over to a weekly chart, I pretty much have the same outlook on it as a few days ago. We're in this weekly resistance range here from 756.65, 746.75. We had a pretty strong closing candle within it last week on a weekly basis, closing at the top of the range. But this week I think we poked above it, but we're kind of trading inside of it. And yeah, I'm pretty much looking at the same thing. Over here, we are forming some consecutive higher lows, but they're not really getting much legs to the upside. So I'm watching for a potential break beneath this swing here for a potential. I'm not sure if that lines up with that number that you were looking for on the SPX, but that 748 range will probably flush us down into the 742 and a half, 740 area. And it just depends on what we do there. Below there, I'm keeping an eye on the 733, 720 range below, 722 range below.
Okay, it seems like we're on similar pages then at the moment. So we'll obviously be tracking this as we go through today's show. But as we said on Tuesday, the basic plan is, and we're just kind of in the early days of this, and we're going to see what works, what doesn't work. But Tuesdays we're planning on making that a bit more of a macro day, understanding what's going on in the broader industries and some of the asset classes there to get a broader macro comprehensive read. While Tuesdays, our plan is to focus more on individual stocks and potential trading opportunities, and or Thursdays, I should say. So today
Hmm.
and right now, obviously, we also have the benefit of earnings season. So there's going to be a lot of good names for us to kind of sink our teeth into and take a look at. I posted some of the tickers that I'd spoken with Chris about that we're going to chat about today. Obviously, always open for any questions in the chat room if there's a name that you want us to take a look at. But for now, just kind of looking at some of the upcoming earnings. I'm going to lay out some levels for everybody to keep an eye out on, some potential tradable levels. Obviously, more volatility expected around this time frame for these names. So we're going to be thinking a little bit outside the box too. But naturally, first name we are going to start off with is Netflix. So obviously, Chris, this has been one that has been under pressure and hit a post split IPO high, or not IPO, a post split high of 108 a couple of months ago, but a steady decline since then. Now, it has been showing some signs of bottoming here around this 72 to 75 area. I was eyeing it up for a potential long, but I figure I might as well let today's results go through. Keeping a close eye on that advertising revenue. They said that they expected 3 billion in revs this year. That comes in closer to 5 billion or something. I think that's something that could break this downward trend. But that's what I want to ask you about, Chris. What do you think of this downward trend? Now, I'm just kind of following the 20-day loosely here, and it seems to run into resistance every time it hits the 20-day. Where's the 20-day? Well, that is right where we're trading at right now at 74.25. So what's your thoughts on Netflix's chart here?
Yeah, so let me, before we get started, just to keep everybody on the same page, and I'll repeat this as we go along and do more of these sessions as well, because I'm quoting a lot of these time frames, so I just want people to be on the same page. Whenever I do my analysis, I'm looking at a monthly, weekly, and a daily time frame, and then I drill down that read onto, primarily from the weekly and the daily charts, I drill that read down onto the intraday time frames, and I try to trade in that direction. Whenever and I'll primarily be talking about the daily trends, the weekly trends, and the monthly trends. The daily trend for me, just basic Dow theory, the daily trend for me is the short-term trend. The weekly trend is the midterm trend, whereas the monthly trend is a larger, just a larger macro trend. I treat them weekly. The weekly trend is a pretty significant trend as well, so I'd consider that macro, but the monthly trend is just a longer term trend. And whenever I'm quoting these time frames, the daily charts are typically used for short. It all depends on how you align it up with the other time frames, but typically daily time frames can lead to short-term swing trades. Weekly time frames can lead to midterm swing trades, and the monthly time frames could lead to just longer-term position type investment type trades. So I just wanted to kind of get everybody on the same page whenever I'm quoting weekly trends, daily trends. I just want you to understand kind of where I'm going with all that, and any questions come up along the way, I'd be happy to answer as well. And I'll repeat this as we go along as well. So that being said, Netflix weekly trend. Let's take a look at it. So weekly trend, on a weekly basis, we're down. We're making lower highs and lower lows. We are coming into a pretty significant area of support over here, though. This support range comes in at right around, sorry about that, comes in at around 71.15, 66.10. And we are seeing a bit of a reaction developing above this range. Let me take a look at the monthly. Let me see if there's any monthly. And we are on a monthly area of support as well. So this weekly is aligned with the monthly area, which kind of gives it a little bit more power. So that being said, this area of support can result in a potential bounce. And like I always say, how I treat these ranges is I like to see kind of basing activity above it, and I'd like to see breaks above the prior bar's highs in order to confirm that range. But if we do get that, if we do get those breaks above the prior highs, we'll likely move higher and test this resistance range here from about 83 down to about 80.35, followed by this upper area here from 91.50, 86.30. So that's pretty much what I'm seeing on there. In order for this
Hey, Chris,
trend,
sorry to
yeah.
interrupt. Just real quick, breaking in. Google breaking down, which we will be discussing here in a little bit, breaking down about 10 points. There's a headline that Google Gemini will delay its launch. So sorry, Chris, just wanted to note that in case that kind of dragged.
Oh, okay.
Lower.
All right.
Sorry to interrupt there.
No, you're good. You're good.
Always the difficulty of doing a show while you're trying to follow markets.
Yeah, I know. I have one eye on my other screens as well. But yeah, that's pretty much what I'm seeing on Netflix. We have our current ceiling at around 83.10, 80.35, followed by 91.50, 86.35. Followed by the current floor, which comes in at around 71 down to 60, 66 area. I'd like to see a potential, which Netflix is reporting today after the market, we can potentially get a gap higher, but I'd potentially like to see a break above these recent swing highs here to engage a trade to the long side, tagging these upper resistance areas.
All right. So anything else there on Netflix, Chris?
Not much else. That's pretty much what I'm seeing on there. In order for this weekly trend to start terminating and start reversing higher, where price stands right now, we'd have to break above this 91.50. Beneath that swing
Same,
high.
which is what, 11, 12% at this point, right? So it needs a substantial move higher for you to get excited about it on a longer term basis, I would think that.
It does, but this 12 period moving average as well, if we start, I treat that as my dynamic trend.
Okay.
So if we start to see breaks above that 12 period moving average and we start to make some higher lows above it, that would get me excited as well. That would kind of clue me in that, hey, this weekly trend is reversing. With that termination point currently coming in at the 91.50 controlling swing high. But yeah, in order for me to consider the long side, I'd like to see a break above that 12 period moving average, and I'd like to see us making some higher lows above that 12 period moving average.
All right. Next up, we're going to take a look at Travelers, property and casualty insurance player. Not the most exciting trader, but this has been one of the best names in the market. It's up about 33% over the last year, up about 17% year to date. Did have a bit of a hiccup yesterday, dropped down to test the 20-day moving average. Seen a nice bounce off that. Trying to work its way back up into that consolidating range around 335 to 345. But what's your thoughts on Travelers chart in front of tomorrow's earnings report?
Yeah, so this daily trend is attempting to reverse lower over here. We made a lower swing high, broke through this prior swing low right over there, broke through that 12 period moving average. We're now moving up and attempting to test this resistance range here from this newly formed resistance range from 342.50, 336.80. If we were to break above that, if we were to break above that 342.50 area, we'll likely retest the recent highs followed by new all-time highs. However, if we hold beneath this area, turn lower, we're likely going to make a run toward these recent highs over here, with the support range right beneath it from 308.30 down to about 301.65. So that's pretty much what I'm seeing on there on TRB. And this area right over here, the 308.30, is it's a significant area of support. It comes in on the weekly time. You see it on the weekly time frame as well.
All right. And the reason behind that drop was a downgrade yesterday from Morgan Stanley, if people are curious at what caused that. So, all right, next up, Chris, we're going to take a look at GM, General Motors here. One thing to keep in mind with General Motors, too, just in terms of a broader potential impact, this is one of the companies that signed a strategic customer agreement with Micron. Those SCAs, of course, were a big reason why people were excited about Micron. Now, Micron, of course, breaking down here. Down below that came a flip at 900 and starting to look pretty weak here at the moment. So we'll take a look at that chart, too, real quick with Chris. But, Chris, in terms of GM, that was seeing a nice uptick, a lot of speculation that they might get a little bit more in the battery and power business there. That led to that little end of May rally. But now it's come back in, tested that 200-day moving average around the 75.99 area. So what's your thoughts on GM?
Yeah, so quick glance, it's pretty messy on the daily chart, pretty messy on the weekly chart. We're consolidating over here. Taking a look at it on the monthly, I'm going to zoom out a little bit. We do have, we're literally stuck in the middle of resistance and support. So we do have resistance here at 87.60 to 81.50. With support just beneath it at 76.90, 70.40. So the way that I would treat this, to get a directional read, we're consolidating up here. We're holding above that 12 period moving average. The trend is up. We are seeing momentum decelerating a little bit over here. But for me to get a directional bias going on this, I'd like to see a decisive break above 87.60, a break above it, close above it on a weekly or on a daily time frame, to get a directional bias at a long side, and vice versa, directional bias at a short side. below 740, 7040, below that 12 period moving average is likely going to open the door for price to begin correcting lower, likely moving toward these recent highs, these recent broken highs. And I'm sure if we drill into that, we'll find some support areas where price can travel to. We do have weekly support that comes in at 59.15, 54.30 should this 70.40 range break. But that's pretty much what I'm seeing on there. We're kind of stuck in a range, consolidating after such a large move higher, taking a breather, and trying to determine what to do next. Are we going to consolidate, form this base, launch higher, or are we going to consolidate, form this base, and launch lower? Quick aside, I think I mentioned this the other day as well. The market for me, I always look at it as like an accordion. It moves through periods of range expansion followed by range contraction. You'll see it over and over and over again, and you'll see it on any time frame from a 1 minute chart up to a monthly, up to a quarterly chart. So after such a large run up, it's taking a breather, it's kind of contracting, and it's pretty much trying to determine what to do next. Break above 87.60 or break lower below 70.40 and correct into these lower support areas. And there's another layer right over there from 50 down to 46.85.
All right. And what's your thoughts on the Micron chart?
Take a look at Micron. Okay, so Micron, let me take these arrows out. We were talking about this the other day as well, I believe. We did form on a weekly basis, we did form new resistance here at 1035 down to about 985. We tested it this week and are now breaking lower, reacted lower, breaking beneath this daily support range here that was within that weekly wick at 904.35, 854.35. If this week we do see a close beneath this swing low over here at 854.35, if we do see a close below there, that's going to terminate this recent weekly midterm uptrend that we've been in. In order for the weekly trend to flip lower, I'd like to see a pullback that forms a lower high. But if we do break below that, close below that, it's going to terminate this recent daily uptrend or weekly uptrend, and it's going to lead to a corrective move down into these ranges here, 755, 700. Taking a zoomed in view on the daily chart, you'll see these levels a little bit better. Price had formed at 1035, 987 range, tested it, broke below it, and is now trying to work itself beneath this daily support range lined up with the weekly that I just talked about from 904, 854. A break below that is going to open the door for price to begin moving lower into the 755, 700 range, and probably following this area right here if we do see a break beneath 700. That we find that just a little bit, 660 down to about 625. That's what I'm seeing on Micron.
All right. Quick question, Chris, from Phil, asking you, how much does volume enter into your analysis?
Phil, a lot of people pay attention to volume, and it's an important part. I'm not factoring it into my analysis a lot. There is a school of thought that says high volume breakouts have higher probability behind them because there are more participants behind it. But volume is just not something that I pay attention to. I do pay attention to volume when it comes to the NYSE total trading volume within the first 30 minutes of the session of each trading day. I've talked about this before. What I do look at is if the first 30 minutes is above the first 30 minutes of trading volume for the last 3 days, that kind of implies to me that, hey, we might have a trend day over here, a directional move in the market, either up or down. And if we're below the last 3 days, 30-minute trading volume, that kind of indicates that, hey, we might get some sort of choppy action. So just kind of something that I use as a reference point. Doesn't always work exactly to the T, but you do see it working quite often. That's as far as I pay attention to volume.
All right. Next up, GE Vernova, one of the key AI infrastructure plays. This is one of the key end-to-end power and electrification equipment provider out there. Obviously, had been one of the strongest names out in the markets. Getting a little bit of a pullback with the rest of that AI infrastructure space at the moment. Now slipping below the 50-day moving average, coming back into that nice $1,000 psychological level there. Chris, what's your thoughts on the GEV chart?
All right, so starting top down weekly chart, we put in the swing high right over here on Monday, April 20th, the week of Monday, April 20th. And we tested above it last week. We rejected and are now testing, looking lower, testing lower. We're above the 12-period moving average, but this week is trying to test beneath it. As far as weekly support, the first area that I'm seeing is this area here at around 89.50 down to about 807. You know what, I'm going to refine that a little bit more. I'm going to include that area as well. So 865 down to about 775 is a weekly support area that I'm seeing. Zooming in on a daily time frame, we are reversing this trend. The daily time frame trend is attempting to reverse lower. It's putting in lower highs and lower lows. We did form resistance here, new resistance from about 1102 down to about 1065. If we hold beneath this range, if we retest it or just hold beneath it without fully retracing into it, we're likely to move lower, probably test this range here. There's some support here on a daily basis from 980 to 980 down to about 955, followed by this overall area that I'm going to refine into from 865, 807. So that's pretty much what I'm seeing on here. As long as this daily trend remains lower, I see resistance areas being the dominant areas to lean on until that trend reverses higher.
All right. Next up, we're going to take a look at one of the first hyperscalers that is going to be hitting the wires, and that is Google, which, of course, we just read out that that headline that looks like Gemini is going to see a delayed launch. Now, this isn't coming from Google, at least best I could tell. I think I haven't seen the source on this, but naturally something that we're going to be watching pretty closely here. Watching for the cloud strength. They'll also provide us some good insight into advertising and, of course, what their potential CapEx spend is. It's going to be an important number for the broader market there. The stock had been pushing higher going into the 50-day moving average right around that 375 area, getting chopped down on these headlines. So, Chris, now down just about 3%. So we had seen some money sneaking back into the hyperscalers ahead of their earnings reports. Obviously, expectations for another strong round of results that hasn't necessarily saved anybody else here so far this earnings season. But what's your thoughts on Alphabet going into that earnings report next week?
Yeah, so Google, as far as this chart looks, I'm pretty bearish on it. If we're holding beneath this swing high here, so we do have weekly resistance that I was paying attention to coming into this week. Weekly resistance here from 376 down to 360. This is the key swing high for me, the lower swing high that we're trading beneath right now. As long as we hold beneath this is likely going to test lower. A break above, so for the upside, a break above 376 is likely going to result in a test of the recent all-time highs, followed by new all-time highs from there. But for me right now, we're stuck in this range within this weekly resistance range here, and refining into it refining into it, I'm gonna actually refine this daily level down to this area here from 376 to about 367. As long as price holds beneath this range, we're likely going to tag this support area here, which price is pretty close to. A break below 350 will open the door for price to begin moving lower into this area here from 342.50, 330, this wider area. And once we get down there, let me take a look at it on a weekly time frame. Yeah, that's that weekly swing low. A potential break. We'd have to see what price does here, but a potential break beneath 330 is likely going to open the door for price to begin moving lower into this support range here from about 320.50, 311. But I'm pretty bearish as long as we hold beneath this weekly swing low, this weekly resistance area from 376 to 365.
All right. Next up, we're going to take a look at IBM. They got out ahead of the game, provided a warning. Wasn't a terrible warning, but boy, did that stock getting hammered. Now, we talked about the T+2, and today would be the day where you could start seeing people nibbling as the sellers are all out. And here we go. Nice bounce off 205 area there, back up to 219, up about 3.84% on the day. But it is coming on some lighter volume here, so what levels would you be watching, Chris? Obviously, that gap down gives you probably some nice clear numbers to follow.
Yeah, so current ceiling on a weekly basis is 311.80, 288.35. Something that I'm paying attention to as far as the ceiling goes. And we gap lower into this weekly support range that we were talking about the other day from about 215 down to about 203.50. So a couple things here. We have this current ceiling, 311 down to 288, current floor from 215 to 203.50. What I'd watch here is also the 50% point, because usually you'll see price developing support or developing resistance between at the 50% mark, between major support areas, between major resistance areas. So that 50% area on here is going to come in at, let me mark it up. Let me use the fib retracement tool for that. So that number is 257.50 roughly. Let me take that out. So I'd be watching this 50% point at around 258, which pretty much lines up with that 12-period moving average and also those previous lows that were taken out. Now, in order to look for a reversion trade higher, we were talking about this the other day. What I'd look for is, so you could treat it two ways. You could take the trade at the support area on its own. I like to wait for some more confirmation. So what I'd like to do is tomorrow I'd wait for a break above this 219, today's current high at 219, to potentially trigger into the long side. If we were to break above yesterday's high today, that could trigger in as well, because what that's doing is whenever you're making new highs on a higher time frame, on a lower time frame, you're starting to make higher. Let me go to it and take a look. If we were to break above yesterday's high at 224 or 223.75, 223.80, we're going to make a higher swing high. So that kind of indicates to me that the lower time frame trend is shifting as we break above the prior day's high. So I'm pretty much watching for either a break above yesterday's high to trigger in for a long trade for a confirmation, or a break above today's high tomorrow, if that makes sense. I'm always watching the prior bar's high or low as a reference point to confirm that a support or resistance area is holding.
All right. Next up, also out next Wednesday, Tesla. Certainly SpaceX might some folks might try to squeeze in some SpaceX questions there for Musk. But I think that there'd be a blackout period. But Tesla is other baby will be reporting on Wednesday. So We get the delivery numbers, so those figures all look pretty good. Certainly some questions around the battery and solar power names are performing there. But with SpaceX seeing a little bit of heavy action, seeing the same on Tesla here. So any thoughts on the TSLA chart there, Chris?
It's a little bit of a tougher read. It's pretty messy. We do have downside support coming in here at, give me a second. We have support coming in here at around 370, 275 to 365. That's the current floor on it. We are developing some new resistance here, a couple layers of it. We reacted from this range here, 413.15, 407.75. So price is on a daily basis, price is attempting to form some lower highs over here as we reacted off of this resistance range at 413.15, 407.75. Another layer above it here at 432.85, 421.50. The way that I see it, as long as we hold beneath this range at 413.50, we're likely to move lower and test the 372.75, 364 area. A potential break beneath 364 will likely get us down into this range here from 352 to about 342.75. Let me see if I see anything different on a weekly time frame. Yeah, it's pretty much the same. We're in an overall sideways range over here. Probably a break above this 432.85 area would lead to another leg higher, while a break beneath, it's kind of far off, but a break beneath this area here at 337.25 would probably lead to another leg lower. But we are forming some lower highs, so I think there's some further downside to come on Tesla. That's how I'm seeing it.
Yeah, I agree with that. So, all right, so looking for some further weakness on Tesla there. Next up, Texas Instruments. This was one of the better performers following earnings in Q1, as their pickup in some of the data center business was better than expected. They also saw some of their non-AI business units doing well. Now, we did kind of get a warning on that front from Taiwan Semi today, which I think is weighing in a little bit on the Texas Instrument shares, which are down 3.45%. They will be reporting also next Wednesday afternoon. So, been really caught in a tight range over the last few weeks. There, well, not pretty wide range actually, but 280 to 330. So, down towards the lower end of that range at the moment. Chris, you're a little concerned about this chart going into this report.
Yeah, this is a similar chart to, I forget the name, I think it was GEV that we were looking at earlier. Price had a pretty significant move up, and now we're taking a breather. We're kind of consolidating over here, contracting and kind of making up its mind on what direction to head in. We do have, off the bat, we do have a pretty significant area of support here at 197.25, 184.90. We're pretty far away from that. But as far as the current technicals go, we're in this overall range. We did form some new daily resistance here at 315.35 down to 304.20. We do have another layer just above it here, which is a little messy, but from 334 to 326, that's the upper area. Current floor is this area here from about 272.45, 264.25. So the way that I'm seeing it, as long as we hold beneath this 315.35, 304.20 range, and we're likely going to tag this support range here from 272.45, 264.25. A break beneath 264.25 is likely going to open the door for price to test this area here, which lines up with those prior highs and that gap area from 236.30 down to about 224. A break below 224 is likely going to open the door for price to begin moving lower into the 197.25, 185 range. So pretty much what I'm looking at on there. We're in a tight range up here. A break above the range high at 334 will open the door for further upside, further all-time highs, whereas a break beneath the range lows at 273.85 is likely going to open the door for first a test into this 270, 240, 264 area, followed by a further correction down into the 236, 224, followed by this range over here, 197 to 184.
Okay, kind of switching gears a little bit from tech. Actually, hold on, I missed one. ServiceNow here, Chris. Software play has been able to climb back above the 100 level. It's been chopping in a pretty tight range over the last few weeks heading into earnings. We obviously saw the potential downside for these software names with IBM. So, you got any thoughts on this going into its report?
Yeah, so we're actually sitting on top of a monthly area of support here it's from right over here. It was a reaction. So we are sitting on top of monthly support here at 92.95.81. What I don't like about it is we tested the 12 period moving average on a monthly basis and rejected it and are now kind of testing the bottom end of that range. Let's take a zoomed in look at it. So for me to get excited about this to the long side, I'd ideally like to see a break above this prior high at 139.20. If we do get that, that's going to open the door for price to test this area of resistance here at 175 to 160, followed by this little pocket here from 194.75, 181.30, and these are ballpark numbers. I'm just watching for the overall ranges. So that's pretty much what I'm seeing on there. We do have some support developing on top of this support range here at 980, 98.30 down to about 89.40, but that's just a reaction off of this larger monthly area. It's pretty much what I'm seeing. It's a bit of a tougher read. It's not too clear cut. I would say this on a daily basis, on a shorter term basis, a break above these prior highs here, these swing highs, will likely lead to a move toward the 132.75, 127.65 resistance range, which is lined up with that high that I was talking about, which has to break in order for price to begin climbing higher into these upper resistance areas.
All right. So moving gears here now, Chris, talking a lot of tech. There are obviously some big names coming out next week, but take a look at two miners coming up here. FCX for Freeport-McMoRan being the first one. This seems like it's ticketed for it, tested at 200-day moving average down around 55.91 to me, which matches up close with those May lows. What's on your charts that you want to point out?
Yeah, so we formed new resistance here at 63.75 down to 61.70. And as long as we hold beneath that, we're getting close to testing this support range here from 56.25 down to 54.15. A break beneath the 54.15 will likely take us down into this range here from 52.20 to 50.65. This is also in an overall sideways range on all these time frames, on the weekly time frame, on the monthly time frame as well. something that I just noticed right now, this 56.25, 54.15 range that we're talking about on the daily time frame is lining up with that 12 period moving average on the monthly time frame. So we can potentially see a bounce off of this area, the 56.25, 54.15. But that bounce will likely be a test of 63.65, 63.75, 61.70. And it's from there, it's likely going to make up its mind on whether it wants to break above it, continue higher into these upper resistance ranges, or keep breaking lower. It's a bit of a tougher read because we are moving in this overall sideways range, but we do have resistance at 63.75, 61.70 as the current ceiling, followed by 70, 60, 68.50, and then the current floor 56.25, 54.15, followed by 52.20, 50.65. That's pretty much what I'm seeing on there.
All right, another miner here, Newmont, NEM, also out next Thursday, I believe it is. This one doesn't really quite have the support that Freeport has under it, I would say. So chart's looking a lot like gold in itself, no surprise there. What's your thoughts on Newmont, NEM?
All right, so let's take a look at Newmont. It's coming into this, there's a weekly area of support over there actually from 92 to 80, 88.25. Let me dig into it on a daily time frame. Yeah, so we are coming into a pretty structured area of support here at 90 down to about 88.25. We did build some resistance right above it from about 98.90, call it 99, down to about 95.95. I'd like to see a potential break above 98.95 in order for this to begin moving higher into these areas right here. We have resistance here at 112.15, 108.35. A break above 98.95 will open that door for price to begin moving into that area. If we stay beneath this range, 98.95, if we test it, if we bounce higher from here, test resistance and turn back lower, we're likely going to dig deeper into this range, followed by these areas here. The 83.50 down to about 78.60 support range on there. We are making lower highs and lower lows. This daily trend is moving lower. So I'd expect in that environment, I'd expect resistance areas to be the dominant force in the market.
All right. Next up, we are going to be switching over to some aerospace and defense names. Honeywell, HON, and recent spin-off of their Quantinium. Also, HONA, Honeywell Aerospace, Honeywell International itself, chopped below that 200-day moving average at the 225 area. Also chopping around in a tight range, but certainly a downward trending chart. Did have some decent buy volume going back around June 26th there. So volume slowly cooled off in front of its earnings next week. But you got any thoughts on Honeywell?
Yeah, we do have some, it's messy, but we do have some support over here from about 220 down to about 215. We're trending lower. We're making lower highs, lower lows, but we are in this overall sideways range over here. We do have resistance here at 228.80 down to about 224. A break above this 228.80 is likely going to lead prices to test the upper end of this range, likely tag these resistance ranges here from 250 to 245. That's what I'm seeing on there. Pretty tight range. A break beneath 215, if we dig deeper into support, break beneath it, we'll likely head lower into, let me take a look at the weekly time frame. There's a pretty significant area of support here at 207.15, 202.70. That will probably start heading toward if we were to get a decisive break beneath this 215. So as long as we hold beneath this 228 level, 228, 224, we're likely going to dig deeper into support, potentially breaking below it and opening the door for price to move lower into the 207.15, 202.70 range. Conversely, a break above this 228 is likely going to lead to a test of this recent high here, this recent swing high at around 234. Above that, it's likely going to tag the 251.50, 240, 245.30 resistance range above.
All right, and then we got RTX. I am currently long. This one, it has slipped back below the 200 level. We are in down at the 174 area, so I like my entry on this. Be curious as to your take on this going to earnings and from a longer term perspective there, Chris.
Yeah, so I do see a weekly area of resistance that price is testing right now, which is lined up with those monthly, right around those monthly highs. That weekly area of resistance here is 205.35, 196.25. We do have a pretty significant area of support here that lines up with that 12 period moving average at 188 down to about 180.95. Another layer of support beneath it from 173.70, 166.75. Let me take a look at something on here. Yeah, so these support areas are pretty significant. If we were to break below this 166.75 on a longer term basis, we're likely to see a correction down toward these highs here at around 136.50, 129. That's what I'm seeing on there. As long as we hold above it, we're likely to retest. I mean, we're reacting lower off of this weekly area right now. So if we react into this 188 area, 181 area, reverse higher, a break above 205 is likely going to result in further new highs. That's pretty much what I'm seeing on there.
All right, and then the last name that we are going to discuss, one of the hottest names in Q2, but it is cooled off with the rest of the AI complex, of course, and that's Intel, which ran all the way up to 141, now back down below the 100 level, down 40% just over the last 3-4 weeks here. Chris, what's your thoughts on Intel going into its earnings report?
Yeah, you're getting a much clearer technical structure on a lot of these tech names. This is looking, it depends how we close this week, but we are attempting to break beneath this swing low here at 98.33. If we were to break beneath it, close beneath it this week, that's likely going to terminate this recent weekly uptrend that we've been in and lead to a corrective move lower. There really isn't much price support until we get down into these levels over here, into the 47.90, 40.60 area. That's not to say that it's going to break down and just shoot right into it. Price can find a base around the 50% point or somewhere in between these bars, form support, and potentially move higher. But right now we are breaking above that controlling swing low that was controlling this recent range that we've been in, trading beneath that 12 period moving average on a weekly basis. If we take a look at it on a daily time frame, we did form new resistance as price is breaking through that weekly swing low. We have new resistance here at 116.75, 107.75. A continued move lower beneath that. We have support here at 84.60, 79.60 that I see price trading into. If we hold beneath this 116, 107 range, price is likely to move into the 84.60, 79.60 range. A break below 79.60 will likely test this area here that lines up with that gap at around 67.90 to about 62. So that's what I'm seeing on there. On the flip side, for a potential move higher, price has to get above this 12-period moving average, break above this resistance range, which is likely going to lead to a test of these recent highs. And there's some resistance over there. Price has to overcome this area of resistance from 142.35, 130 in order for it to break higher and continue making new all-time highs. But this is the resistance range here that's currently controlling the market and what I'm keeping an eye on.
All right. Any names that you wanted to mention before we let you get going here, Chris, that we didn't touch upon?
I think we touched on a lot of the major names. Nothing else is coming to mind. I was looking at Palantir earlier. I did write a comment about, and I believe I wrote a comment about that. If not, I was getting ready to write a comment about that. Price was basing here at, it has some resistance here at 138.90, 133.75. It's something that I'm keeping an eye on. If we hold beneath this range, it's likely going to test these lows here at around 124, followed by this support range here at 118.70. A break above that 138.90 range will lead a price higher into that range above at 163.70, 155.90. But that's the name that I'm keeping an eye on. I'm looking for price to potentially stall within this range to engage a short trade down into these lower support areas. We have another layer here as well, from 111.40, 106.35.
With Palantir, Chris, or would you go in with one of the bearish ETFs?
I probably do the options on the Palantir. I'll probably buy a put on it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Good.
But that's pretty much it. Pretty much what I'm paying attention to.
Okay, Chris, there is a request for us to take a look at USAR. So we'll take a quick peek at that. Obviously, one of these rare earth plays, also seeing a pretty steep decline. This thing's been cut in half since hitting 32.80 back on June 3rd. Bleeding lower, and really looks to me like this is ticketed for a test at 14 level myself, Chris. What's your thoughts on this chart?
Yeah, it's coming into this pretty significant area of support here at 14.15, 11.70. We do have a support range that formed just above it as well. So I'd be paying attention to this area as well. It formed as a reaction to that area not a few weeks ago, in the beginning of April. So there are these two levels, 16.15, 13.85, just above the 14.15, 11.70 range. I'd be keeping an eye on both of these ranges. I'd like to see what price does within these areas. I'd be looking for price to slow down, base, and form new highs on either the weekly chart or on the daily chart to potentially look for a long trade. We do have resistance here, weekly resistance at around 26.10, 23.30 that formed on the way down. Above that, we have these recent highs that price would have to chew through at around the 30 range, 30-31 range. A break above these recent highs would likely lead to a test of the 44.3750 range.
All right. Okay, I think with that then, Chris, we will end today's show. We will be posting a replay of it, as well as notes on each of these names, so you could have them by your side and get should act as a great companion for you for reacting and trading some of these plays around earnings. So definitely appreciate the time as usual, Chris, and look forward to see how this portion of the show works out moving forward. So anybody who's got any feedback for us or any suggestions, we're always open. Chris, you got anything to add before we let you get going?
Yeah, any feedback, any suggestions, we're kind of, moving along, refining things as we go along. Any charts that you guys would like us to look at, either prior to the show, during the show, throw it up in the chat, and we'd be happy to take a look at it.
Yeah. So, all right, Chris, I'll talk to you in a little bit. We'll be here. We got about an hour left in the trading day. We'll be following this course and watching Netflix closely going into those results. So, talk to everybody soon.
Thank you, Gavin. Thanks, guys.